Nazywam się Emilia Rusin, reprezentuję Lubelski Festiwal Filmowy. Dzisiaj rozmawiam z Marko Dieszką, autorem filmu Wszystkie odczucia w moim brzuchu. Na początku chciałam bardzo podziękować za ten film, który zrobiłeś, ponieważ on w bardzo piękny, delikatny i optymistyczny sposób mówi o bardzo trudnych sprawach. Sporo filmów o temacie osób transpłciowych pokazujemy na festiwalu, ale rzadko są tak subtelne i pozytywne. Dziękuję za to.
Thank you for putting my film in your program.
Obejrzeliśmy Twój film, wiedzieliśmy, że on się znajdzie w programie, tylko mieliśmy dylemat z tym, w jakim konkursie go umieścić, ponieważ to jest jednocześnie animacja i jednocześnie dokument. Ostatecznie trafił do konkursu filmów dokumentalnych. I takie pytanie do Ciebie, jak sam myślisz o swoim filmie, to on jest dla Ciebie bardziej dokumentem, czy bardziej animacją, czy to jest w ogóle bez znaczenia?
Actually, there is many festivals who had the same problem. But when we apply to the festival, automatically we applied for animation because we are an animation studio and we are all animators. So none of us are documentary filmmaker, neither myself. So this is my first, how to say, experiment or with documentary form. So basically I'm animators. So when we apply to the festival, we always go for animation, but then later on, people from other festivals and yours too ask me about this. Should it be more like that documentary or not? So for me personally, I think it's animation because still it's fully animated, like 100% it's animation. So I think that animation documentary is form which you can mostly see in the animation program on most of the festivals.
Więc być może jesteśmy pierwszym festiwalem, który przyjął ten film do programu dokumentalnego.
So you're not the one. Maybe there is maybe 5 festivals. Yeah, depends on their program.
Wiem, że poza tym, że jesteś animatorem, zajmujesz się też komiksem. Oglądałam Twoje poprzednie filmy i one są bardzo, bardzo komiksowe, w bardzo komiksowym stylu. A ten film, Wszystkie odczucia w moim brzuchu, on jest zupełnie inny, w zupełnie innej estetyce. No i też właśnie jest dokumentem. Jak to się stało, że w ogóle stworzyłeś taki film, tak inny od dotychczasowych rzeczy?
Yeah, but actually because of the subject, I thought that it needs to be more poetic. And I also thought that my comic style is not a good solution for it. And since in the film I have a real person, like real protagonist, which is a transgender girl, Mattia, I thought that my film needs to have more female energy in it and more female kind of design. And then I actually collaborated on this project with Hannah Tintor, who's like famous Croatian illustrator, and she actually designed everything and animate everything also together with us, but she is like the main leader of animation and artistic director and designer. And yes, also one important thing is that she's not animator by profession, she's illustrator. So, and that it's also good for my project because she was not limited and obsessed with these rules of animation, with perspective, anatomy, all the stuff. So that's why characters in the film, they're like stretching, changing shapes all the time. Everything is more fluently and free, and you can feel that film is completely different and more poetic, especially because of that reasons. Because I'm not. If I did the film, it will be completely different, visually, and especially these metaphors and transitions from one shot to another shot. I think it was crucial that it needs to be done in very poetic, in different kind of style.
Czyli poetyka wynika z tematu, a skąd się wziął temat? Jak do tego doszło, że zrobiłeś film o tej postaci jak ją poznałeś, gdzie znalazłeś bohaterkę i jak w ogóle powstał pomysł, żeby zrobić animację dokumentalną, a nie na przykład zwykły dokument?
The reason why this film is documentary is because I mean my basic idea is that I want to make film about somebody who is changing the gender, and to do that, the best way is to have like real protagonist, somebody who will talk about her experience or his experience. And then, I mean, documentary form is the best way to show like it, because it's like a document of real life. So it gives opportunity to capture these most intimate emotional states, and to, especially from trans feminine person under extreme social pressure, and to represent this person as humane. So this is like this documentary part. And then if you combine it with animation, animation can replace all these memories which are not exist. You need to present them, so this animation can actually replace them, and also show all these emotional states like fear, disappointment, rage, unrequited love, euphoria. You can actually transmit this into animation and show it, which you cannot do it in fiction or documentary. So this balance media like animation documentary was perfect for this story. And how I met Mattia, I started to interviewing transgender people in my surroundings, and then at that point I figured out that there is so many transgender people around. I didn't know that before, but it took some time to find Mattia, because I realized that that person needs to be very extrovert, and in the same time needs to be very open and willing to share all these. I mean, it's very personal stuff. So Mattia was like after 5 or 6, maybe even more people, I found her spontaneously when I was already like thinking about if I'm gonna ever met the person. So Mattia was actually perfect match of all these together. And I think it's very important for animation also, because animation needs this extrovert energy, and because animation is also like very colorful, so, and demanding. So combination of this stuff in personalities was perfect. Like Mattia was the right choice for me.
To mam takie techniczne pytanie, bo przy kolejnym oglądaniu filmu stwierdziłam, że tego tekstu, który mówi Mattia, jest o wiele mniej niż mi się wydawało za pierwszym razem. To jest normalne przy robieniu filmu, jakiegokolwiek filmu fabularnego czy dokumentalnego, że w montażu ogromna większość materiału odpada, w ogóle zostaje odrzucona. A jak to wyglądało przy tym filmie? Ile tych wypowiedzi Mattii w porównaniu z tym, ile ich zebraliście, ile ich zostało finalnie?
That's very sensitive question, since there's a lot of text and a lot of stuff from Mattia's life which we just needed to move away. For one reason is the length of the film and animation, because animation needs to breathe and needs to tell the story by itself. Otherwise, it will be packed with sound and voice, and it's not gonna be good. We try it, and then it was awful, because you are watching animation story which is told by itself, and then you can hear voice again. So you have this double, like how to say, like impact, and then it doesn't work. And then we just needed to remove, and then once we started to removing the text also, and integrate more animation which will, through this metaphor, tells the story, it actually works. And many scenes we need to remove, which is, I really feel sorry about it, because I mean there is a lot of stuff that Mattia also been through, and this film could, no problem, could be like 25 minutes, but we needed to make it shorter, also because of the festivals and because of the budget. So that's the thing. Unfortunately, a lot of text needs to be removed, but I think that it's most important that the story is clear. So.
To moje ostatnie pytanie dotyczy przyszłości i kolejnych filmów. Jestem ciekawa, czy następne filmy Marco Dieszka wróci do swojego komiksowego stylu, czy zostajesz w tej poetyckiej wersji, czy będziesz szukał czegoś jeszcze innego?
Well, I think I will stay with this way of collaborating with other authors, and maybe I don't think my style is good for festivals because I think it's more for comics, and I think also that working with other animators and other designers is kind of good practice for yourself and for how to say, through these collaborations you learn a lot about yourself, about communication, about your ego. You need to do a lot of compromise with people, and it doesn't matter how hard it is. Sometimes I think out of to summarize everything, I think it's you learn a lot, good stuff, and I think that's one of the most precious thing for me out of this project is also this collaboration, because if I work all by myself, working alone all day, animating, I mean, it's kind of, it's not so much, I don't know the word. I mean, this is the better for me. For now, I think the next project will also be collaboration with some other animator and designer, and I do have some ideas, but first I need to apply and see how it's gonna be.
Więc czekam z niecierpliwością na kolejne filmy. Jeśli chcesz coś dodać, może nie spytałam o coś, co sam byś chciał powiedzieć, może chcesz coś powiedzieć naszym widzom, którzy zobaczą twój film?
I'm glad for the interview, and I'm sad that I'm not gonna be there in Poland on your festival. And that's it. Enjoy the film. I hope you will like it.
Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you.